now I'd like to introduce the Guru Gauranga, who has put together a narration and slideshow of what it was like for Prabhupada, to try to give us an insight and an experience, a little bit of what it was like for Prabhupada to travel from Calcutta to Boston.
Thank you, Dr. Schweig. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a slideshow titled A Most Improbable Journey. At 12:30 p.m. on this day, exactly 50 years ago, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami disembarked at the port of New York City after completing a transoceanic journey of 38 days, during which the almost 70-year-old Swami had suffered 2 successive heart attacks at high sea and nearly died. Elderly and penniless, Bhaktivedanta Swami had journeyed on an old freighter from the port city of Calcutta. That freighter, the MV Jaladuta of the Scindia Steam Navigation Co, had been the temporary residence of a frail but determined passenger on his solitary journey to fulfill the great mission of his life. In keeping with the theme and mood of this most improbable journey, I shall refer to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada as Bhaktivedanta Swami during this presentation. I've used period photos wherever possible, with few exceptions. And when repeating the exact words written by Bhaktivedanta Swami in his diary, I will begin by saying quote and conclude by saying unquote. Let us now pick up the story of this most improbable journey where it began, in Vrindavan, India, the holy place where Lord Sri Krishna appeared on earth some 5,000 years ago. 1959, quote, I was sitting alone in Vrindavan, writing. My godbrother insisted to me, Bhaktivedanta Prabhu, you must do it. Without accepting the renounced order of life, nobody can become a preacher. So he insisted. Not he insisted, practically my spiritual master insisted. He wanted me to become a preacher, so he forced me through this godbrother. So, unwillingly, I accepted, unquote. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami in the early 1960s in Vrindavan. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami occupied these quarters in the Radha Damadar temple in Vrindavan, India. There he prayed, studied, and translated the Srimad Bhagavatam, the transcendental text known as the mature fruit of all Vedic wisdom. In fact, some Vrindavan residents began to refer to Bhaktivedanta Swami as the Swami who always writes. Bhaktivedanta Swami occupied 2 rooms connected by a veranda. This room served as his sitting room and bedroom. In this room, which served as his kitchen, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami would take prasadam. This is the main entrance to the Radha Damadar temple in Vrindavan, where Bhaktivedanta Swami's quarters were situated. Early 1960s, Sri Radha Damadar are the temple deities whom Bhaktivedanta Swami would worship daily. In his kitchen, Bhaktivedanta Swami would take prasadam, and while looking out the window, contemplate the sacred place of burial of Srila Rupa Goswami. Bhaktivedanta Swami in his quarters at Radha Damadar Temple. Early 1965. Desirous of fulfilling the order of his spiritual master to preach Krishna consciousness in the West in English, Bhaktivedanta Swami sought the help of Mrs. Sumati Morarji, the owner of the Scindia Steam Navigation Company. Mrs. Morarji initially refused to give Bhaktivedanta Swami a passage to America on one of her ships, saying that the Americans were an uncooperative people, that New York was too cold, and that the Swami was too old and would surely die there far away from his beloved Vrindavan. Nonetheless, Bhaktivedanta Swami was undeterred. Finally, Mrs. Morarji relented and promised to give Bhaktivedanta Swami complimentary passage on one of her merchant ships sailing from Calcutta. Spring 1965. For his impending trip to America, Bhaktivedanta Swami convinced the Scindia Steam Navigation Co. to finance the printing of a presentational leaflet titled Srimad Bhagavatam, India's Message of Peace and Goodwill. Friday, July 30th, 1965. Bhaktivedanta Swami receives his passport for travel to America. Even a casual viewer is able to discern the intense determination etched into his lotus face. Sunday, August 1st, 1965. Quote, to start for Calcutta via Nagpur at 19 hours in the evening. Viday, ticket dated July 24, 1965, luggage booked, paid 12 rupees, 20 paisa, unquote. This is what Calcutta looked like in the early and middle 20th century. That is the Hooghly River in the background, a tributary of the Holy Ganges. Tuesday, August 3rd, 1965. Upon arrival at the Howrah train station 2 days later, Bhaktivedanta Swami would have traversed the Howrah Bridge across the Hooghly on his way to the Bungar Dharmashala, an Indian religious rest house for pilgrims located at 65A Pachurya Gata Street, indicated by the green marker. He would stay there for 3 nights before going to Sridham Mayapur. Wednesday, August 4th, 1965. Bhaktivedanta Swami received his complimentary ticket for passage aboard the MV Jaladuta from Calcutta to New York. This is what it looked like. Friday, August 6th, 1965. Quote, morning to start for Mayapur and return back in the evening. Bhaktivedanta Swami paid a last visit to the Samadhi tomb of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati to seek the blessings of his spiritual master before embarking on the great trip ahead. Tuesday, August 10th, 1965. Quote, to start for USA by MV Jaladuta from Calcutta Port, King George's Dockyard, unquote. Thursday, August 12th, 1965. The Lord's Message Goes to America was the title of a brief newspaper article published in the Dainik Basmati, a Bengali language newspaper, announcing the departure of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami to the West. Quote from the newspaper. Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Prithiviti ache jata nagaradigram sarvatra prachor hoibe morena. That prophecy is going to be fulfilled now. The article continued, quote, Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami, a resident of Vrindavan, has translated into English in 60 volumes with word-for-word meaning and purports. Before this great work could be appreciated by his countrymen, people from far-off America have expressed their admiration for his supernormal achievement and have invited him so that they may meet him in person and acquaint themselves with his work. Hence, he is departing from Calcutta for New York this 12th day of August, unquote. Of course, this was newspaper talk. At the time, there were no 60 volumes, no admirers, no invitation, and no interested persons awaiting his arrival. But Lord Krishna would arrange for them to come in the future. Friday, August 13th, 1965, the luckiest day in history, Friday the 13th. Bhaktivedanta Swami leaves the Pilgrim Guest House up on Pachurya Gata Street, the green marker, taking a taxi through the Maidan to reach King George's Dock, red marker, where the MV Jaladuta lies moored. Friday, August 13th, 1965, quote, today at 9 a.m., embarked on MV Jaladuta, came with me Bhagwati, an official of Scindia Steam Navigation Company, Mr. Sengupta, Mr. Ali, and Vrindavan, who was his son. Thanks to Lord Sri Krishna for his enlightening Srimati Sumati Mararji for all these arrangements." Unquote. Saturday, August 14th, 1965. Quote, "The ship started at about 11 o'clock in the morning majestically, but on reaching the Bay of Bengal, there is tilting of the ship and little rolling also. The roughness increased gradually on the upper Bay of Bengal, and I felt sickness. There was vomiting tendency and dizziness, and I felt uncomfortable the whole day and night. The sea was foamy all through. It appeared like a big plate of water extending to 40 square miles, but factually it was endless, so today. It is a vivid example of God's Maya because it appears like something, but factually it is something else." Unquote. This is the itinerary of Bhaktivedanta Swami along the eastern coast of India down to Colombo in Ceylon, today known as Sri Lanka. Tuesday, August 17th, 1965. Quote, "The captain informed me that by next 6 hours we shall reach Colombo port. Today I was better." Unquote. Wednesday, August 18th, 1965. Quote, "I went to see the Colombo city. Then a car was arranged for me to go around the city. I saw the Parliament House and the Town Hall and passed through very nice clean roads and bazaars." Friday, August 20th, 1965. Steaming from Colombo, Ceylon, point A, through the Laccadive Sea to Cochin, point B. Quote, "Today the captain arranged for a meeting on board the MV Jaladuta on account of Janmashtami Day, and I spoke for an hour on the philosophy and teachings of Lord Sri Krishna. All the officers attended the meeting, and there was distribution of prasadam. The matter was radiographed to Sumati Mararji in Bombay." Unquote. Saturday, August 21st, 1965. Still on this itinerary to Cochin. Today is Bhaktivedanta Swami's 69th birthday. He makes no entry of it in his diary. Evidently, he did not consider it worth mentioning. Sunday, August 22nd, 1965, quote, "At about 10 a.m., we are now in the dockyard of Cochin," unquote. Sunday, August 22nd, 1965, quote, "Two big islands known as Cochin and Ernakulam are joined by an iron overbridge. The iron overbridge was constructed by the Britishers very nicely," unquote. Sunday, August 22nd, 1965. Quote, "There is a nice park on the bank of the Gulf, and it is named Subhash Bose Park. It is good that Subhash Babu is popular in this part of the country," unquote. Sunday, August 22nd, 1965. Quote, "I saw my books from Bombay arrived in 5 cases, and the agents loaded them on the ship at 4 p.m., unquote. As the Jaladuta was steaming across the Indian Ocean towards the Red Sea, Bhaktivedanta Swami encountered great difficulty. In the previous days, he had noted in his diary, quote, "Rain, seasickness, dizziness, headache, no appetite, vomiting," unquote. But on August 25th, he wrote, quote, "Beginning from today, down," unquote. His symptoms persisted, but it was more than seasickness. Pains in his chest made him think he would die at any moment. In 2 days, Bhaktivedanta Swami suffered 2 heart attacks. As Satsvarup Goswami wrote in Prabhupada Lilamrita, quote, "One night, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami had a dream. Lord Krishna and his incarnations were rowing a boat, and Krishna told Prabhupada that he should not fear, but should come along. Prabhupada felt assured of Lord Krishna's protection, and the violent attacks did not recur." Tuesday, August 31st, 1965, quote, passed over a great crisis in the struggle for life and death. A separate statement has to be written on this crisis, unquote. To the best of our knowledge, no such statement was made. Evidently, Bhaktivedanta Swami saw no need to do so. This is a satellite view of the Red Sea, Gulf of Suez. The Jaladuta went into the Red Sea, into the Gulf of Suez, and approached the Suez Canal. Wednesday, September 1st, 1965, Bhaktivedanta Swami notes the arrival of the Jaladuta at Port Suez, an Egyptian city at the southern point of the Suez Canal. This is a map of the Suez Canal. At the southernmost point, there is the city of Suez. At the northernmost point on the Mediterranean, Port Said. This is a period picture of the Suez Canal in the 60s. It was normal for two ships to pass in opposite directions. Thursday, September 2nd, 1965. This is the north end of the Suez Canal, approaching Port Said. Thursday, September 2nd, 1965, Bhaktivedanta Swami notes the arrival of the Jaladuta at Port Said, an Egyptian city at the northern end of the Suez Canal. Friday, September 3rd, 1965, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami commented about Port Said, Egypt's oldest port city. Quote, the Port Said city is nice. It has long, narrow, neat, and clean roads with lofty buildings. The city is not at all congested. While passing the rear point of Suez towards Mediterranean Sea, the city is clearly seen. Although in the desert, the city has all varieties of vegetables available, unquote. Friday, September 3rd, 1965. The Jaladuta sails past the Grand Mosque of Port Faoud, on the eastern side of the Suez Canal, opposite Port Said. If Bhaktivedanta Swami had been on board, that's exactly what he would have seen. On deck, excuse me. That's exactly what he would have seen. Saturday, September 4, 1965. Upon leaving the Suez Canal, the Jaladuta heads into the waters of the Mediterranean Sea toward Sicily and Malta. Tuesday, September 7, 1965. Quote, today Varaha Dvadashi observed the best atmospheric condition on the Mediterranean Sea. All along, we have seen the Algerian coast, unquote. Tuesday, September 7th, 1965. The journey continues as Bhaktivedanta Swami reaches the Strait of Gibraltar, connecting the Mediterranean Sea to the Atlantic Ocean. Wednesday, September 8th, 1965, quote, we passed over Gibraltar Port. The other side is Spanish Morocco. There is regular ferry steamer service. The strait is wide, about 7 miles across. Wednesday, September 8th, 1965, quote, we are in the Atlantic, unquote. Friday, September 10th, 1965, quote, today the ship is plying very smoothly. I feel today better, but I am feeling separation from Sri Vrindavan and my lords, Sri Govinda, Gopinath, Radha, Damadar. The only solace is Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, in which I am tasting the nectarine of Lord Chaitanya's Śrila. I have left Bharata Bhumi just to execute the order of Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati in pursuance of Lord Chaitanya's order. I have no qualification, but I have taken up the risk just to carry out the order of His Divine Grace. I depend fully on their mercy so far away from Vrindavan, unquote. Saturday, September 11th, 1965, quote, today the ship ran on very smoothly, the sky was clear, and there was sunshine all the day, unquote. Saturday, September 11th, 1965. Here is a photo of the MV Jaladuta, quote, running very smoothly, unquote, which I was fortunate to find in an online database of historic merchant ships. To the best of my knowledge, this image has never before been shown in public. Monday, September 13, 1965. Quote, I emphatically say to you, O brothers, you will obtain your good fortune from the Supreme Lord Krishna only when Srimati Radharani becomes pleased with you. Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur, who is very dear to Lord Gauranga, the son of Mother Sachi, is unparalleled in his service to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. He is that great saintly spiritual master who bestows intense devotion to Krishna at different places throughout the world. Tuesday, September 14, 1965. Quote, I was talking in the captain's room with the chief engineer, Mr. Travers, who told me that he had never had such experience of calm and quietness in the Atlantic. There was always typhoon, cyclone, fog, etc., at least for days in every trip in the past. I said, it is Lord Krishna's grace. If such things as usual in the Atlantic would have taken place, I would have died, unquote. Friday, September 17, 1965. After a 35-day journey from Calcutta, the Jaladuta reached America at Boston, docking at Commonwealth Pier at 5:30 in the morning. Friday, September 17, 1965. It was at Boston's Commonwealth Pier that Bhaktivedanta Swami composed another poem in Bengali titled Markini Bhagavad Dharma. Some of the verses he wrote on board the ship that day are as follows. Quote, My dear Lord Krishna, you are so kind upon this useless soul, but I do not know why you have brought me here. Now you can do whatever you like with me. But I guess you have some business here, otherwise why would you bring me to this terrible place? But I know that your causeless mercy can make everything possible because you are the most expert mystic. Somehow or other, O Lord, you have brought me here to speak about you. Now, my Lord, it is up to you to make a success or failure, as you like. O spiritual master of all the worlds, I can simply repeat your message. So if you like, you can make my power of speaking suitable for their understanding. O Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance, O Lord, make me dance as you like. I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. I have been designated as Bhaktivedanta, and now if you like, you can fulfill the real purport of Bhaktivedanta. Signed, the most unfortunate, insignificant beggar, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, on board the ship Jaladuta, Commonwealth Pier, Boston, Massachusetts, USA, dated 18th September, 1965. Sunday, September 19th, 1965. Quote, today is the 38th day of our journey, and we reached New York port at 12:30 p.m., about 3 hours later than the scheduled time, unquote. Sunday, September 19th, 1965. The Jaladuta finally sailed into New York Harbor and docked at a pier in Brooklyn. The elderly and frail Swami, who disembarked that day, exactly 50 years ago today, had traversed 2 oceans, sailed past many countries, and suffered 2 heart attacks, carrying with him only 40 rupees and an Indian steel trunk full of Bhagavatams. He had fulfilled the order of his Guru Maharaj and was now poised to start a Krishna conscious revolution in the West, which would spread all over the world. Total distance, 2,000 kilometers by land and 20,000 kilometers by water. The end. Thank you for your attention.
प्राप्त सकल गुणानवश